Later on, you would. I'm not going to read it.
There's quite a bit of e-commerce.
You know, when I was younger,
Not
I
sleeping.
didn't know how I didn't know that when you got old, it brought pain.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not fun. When I sleep in my back, I'm like,
When I did that the other day, I
As close to the end as we can.
First of all,
Yeah.
first thing that happened was,
It might.
Okay, you know
might
what?
be a little optimistic on that.
Yeah, I think that might be.
All right.
When I originally put the agenda.
Okay, welcome to everybody here.
and one other thing.
We're just going to get started.
Hit to get to the table.
It's 5 o'clock and we're going to hold our town council meeting this 9th day of September 2014. And that was a very good day. 43 years ago I met my husband that day, so it was a very good day. So we have a call to order and Councillor Barnes will do us the honor.
Sure, thank you. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet together as town council. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve the citizenry of our town. Grateful for the wonderful town that we have, for the great people that live in it. We pray that they'll bless us in our deliberations this night, that the things that are said and done will be done in accordance with thy mind and will, and that we might be able to say and do those things that are pleasing and proper and productive for our community. Wilt thou guide us now, we pray, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for this prayer. Okay. Councillor Peavoy, just
I have one receipt
coming
for
out
you.
of time. Thank you. All right. Our delegation is not here quite yet, so we are going to go right to item 5. And we're going to do 3, adopt the agenda, and then 5 if we have the time. Okay? Under number 3, we need to do some additions. Under 11, we would add 3 pieces of correspondence. We received a letter under E from Dustin McKay. 11F would be Michael Parker, and 11G will be Barbara Fox. We also understand that Barbara Fox and Michael Parker would appreciate having a few minutes to address council. Yes.
Madam Mayor, that's Dustin McKay,
Oh,
not
Dustin
Michael
McKay.
Parker.
What did?
Dustin and Barb would like
Oh,
to.
sorry.
address us.
Dustin McKay and Barb would like to address council. As you know, we have a policy that says that after Thursday, council needs to authorize the public to come to the podium. So I really need to see a nod if it's okay with you to give them 3 to 5 minutes to express themselves on the topic. Councillor Bengry, is that all right?
Yes.
Do you approve it?
Yes.
Councillor Edmonds? Yes. Councillor Barfuss?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we will have 3 to 5 minutes for Dustin McKay and for Barbara Fox. Thank you. So at this point, we will also add on the 12E, land sales, and that will be Jim Schaefer land sale. He will not be present, but we have to deal with the issue.
Well, we,
Please, and it would be in camera.
yeah.
All right, so we need to have this agenda adopted. Councillor Bengry adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Did you mean Mark?
Councillor Bengry.
Well, he's
Yeah.
second.
She saw him
He bit Councillor
The
Barnes.
quick draw.
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. All right, do we have our delegation?
Madam Mayor, they're not scheduled till
Yeah,
5:15.
5:15.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm a little bit too quick in the draw. Okay, so let's go to 5, adoption of minutes. So I will need a motion to adopt. Councillor,
To adopt the minutes.
thank you. Councillor Barfuss. Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Barnes, go
There's,
ahead with
there's
your
gotta be a-
question.
There's got to be a change in the media. I was reading the Cardston paper under motion 14-103. We had agreed to donate $1,000,
Oh,
okay, and it was reported in the paper that we donated $10,000. And I contacted, I can't remember if I contacted you, Marian, or Graham. I think it was Graham, but I can't remember. Graham, do you remember if I contacted you regarding that? But anyways, there hasn't been a correction in the newspaper yet, and I've had people pull me off the side. What do you think you're doing, donating $10,000 here?
okay, but is
So we
it,
need to change that.
But it's okay in the
It's
minutes.
okay in the minutes, but it has to be changed at the
Okay.
newspaper.
Well, that's
so
the
but
newspaper's job.
that's something different.
We have to let
No.
them know.
Okay, Councillor Barnes, let's deal with the minutes and then I'll tell you what we can do for that
Okay,
one.
thank you.
Okay, let's deal with the minutes. So all in favor of the minutes? Thank you. Okay, just to answer this, we can just ask the town to put a proper correction in the newspaper. That can be done easily. I contacted Mr. Russell, who was overjoyed by the 10,000, and told him, because the county was willing to match that, and I say, tell them to dig $9,000 for you, that would be
They
good.
did that yesterday. Mayor.
Which, perfect.
Good.
So we'll be very glad to do that. I'm glad.
Yeah, I just don't want people upset because I really got accosted yesterday on that one.
No, it's $1,000, of course.
Bill and I did last night.
We had $3,000 in that account, we would be overdrawn, and we're not going overdrawn. Okay, all right, so let's carry on. We have about 7 minutes. We could do request for decision under 7A, ADCO gas franchise agreement. Now, here, if you could see, there is a piece of information from the town that tells us that really the 15% is a regular standard franchisee fee, and that we should carry on with this level of percentage, not to change it at this point. So what we need is a motion to accept, to keep the franchisee fee at 15%. Okay, would you like to read the motion maybe?
Okay,
Whichever-
let's see, do we have that on,
Background.
let's see, I'm just looking on the letter here, I don't see a motion
No, there's not.
to read.
Well, maybe you can make a general
All right,
motion.
well, I will move that we accept the APCO gas franchise agreement at the rate of 15%, which is the present rate, actually. I believe,
Yeah,
on-
to maintain the
maintain-
15%.
Maintain the 15% franchise fee.
That's good enough.
Is this for a period of time that we have?
It's up to
It's a year.
starting,
For 2015?
no, I don't know how long it goes, Marian. Is that for a period of 1 year, or is that up to the time the contract is renewed?
The current franchise agreement is at 15%, and the current agreement will expire in September of 2017. So it
Okay.
will continue unless council chooses otherwise by motion of council and sends notification by November 15th of next year.
Okay,
So it's a yearly review?
So
Okay,
my
for
motion
1
is-
year.
My motion is to continue the existing franchise agreement at the
Rate of
current rate of 15%.
for the next year. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. All right. Maybe let's jump a little bit down to 7D, FCS's board recommendation. You have two recommendations that are
Which one, D1 or 2?
7D1, become an age-friendly community. And you could see that Alexis is doing a tremendous amount of job. And so the motion was moved by Val from the FCSS board to recommend to council to become an age-friendly community. I think it's a really wonderful idea and fits very well with our strategic planning. So if somebody is willing to make a motion to that effect, Councillor Peavoy?
Just a question, and I don't know who we would address it to, maybe administration, but the committee that they're looking to form, would that require a member of council? Or is that what they would be looking for?
The committee could be formed in any way that council deemed fit. I would suggest that because it is a strategic priority of council, that it would be appropriate to have a council member on that committee.
And the FCSS member would be probably the member that would be assigned, or it could be someone else if there's too much on somebody's plate. Councillor Bengry?
There's four questions here for your mandate for that committee. They're quite involved. Conduct an age-friendly assessment of your community and develop and implement an action plan. What do we got for a time frame for that committee?
That is a very good question. What we could do, Councillor, is agree in principle to have this committee and then ask them to come with terms of reference.
Right.
Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like that.
Councillor Peavoy?
Yeah, I'm just curious if we have any estimates on costs for things like the friendly assessment, et cetera, the age-friendly assessment.
All those are very good questions. They have grants that they can access. So there's quite a few more information. Maybe what we could have at the next meeting, if Alexis could come and speak to us regarding the idea.
I would suggest that probably your FCSS representative that is here tonight on the board should speak to that because it was discussed at length at the FCSS committee.
So,
Who's on that?
That's
yeah,
myself.
do you want to talk about it, Councillor, or?
Yeah, we did
would you
discuss it
prefer?
in detail at the FCSS board meeting. But we did discuss the fact that it was noted in our strategic plan that we want to become a senior friendly, that's one of our priorities.
Okay.
And
Okay, so right now we leave it in principle.
so the step, I mean, that we can do a resolution. The age-friendly committee would have to be established. So I don't know where we want to go with this right now. I guess we could, if you'd like to pass in principle.
I think that's what we should do.
The idea of becoming an age-friendly community, then establish a
Right.
resolution. So
Yeah, you need the terms of
So
reference and all
I
that
will
stuff.
just make that motion that we, in principle, accept the idea of becoming an age-friendly community and then deal with the particulars as we go.
And develop a terms of
Yeah,
reference.
terms of
Maybe you
reference.
want to have that in a motion.
Right. We do that. Okay.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'd prefer to have the committee go back and strike their terms of reference and let us review that as a council before we make a recommendation for in principle.
And by committee, you mean the FCSS committee?
Right. So that we know what direction we're going into, the basic costs and the commitment, who's going to serve on that committee. We would know all of that before we made a recommendation.
Okay, so what you are asking is actually for CFSS themselves to develop the terms of reference for that committee, not that committee to develop their own term of reference.
Right.
That's what you are requesting?
Yes, because it's asked by FCSS.
Okay.
So I'd like to have FCS develop their terms of reference for this committee.
Okay, are you okay with a friendly amendment, or do you want to
No.
speak to your question?
Because, the FCSS doesn't have the representation on it that, we need seniors, we need
You need people from the community.
We need
to
people
do
from
that.
the community to
Yeah.
be able to make those recommendations and set those terms of reference. I feel it's really important to, even if we start out with an ad hoc committee with people from the community that are seniors, so that they understand, what this is, what the purpose is and what the scope of this would be. So it's kind of like which we put forth the chicken or the egg,
Okay, so you want to keep your motion as such?
I would like to keep my motion that we support in principle the idea of an age-friendly community, whereas we've already identified in our strategic plan that we want to, be that seniors is a priority, is one of our priorities.
If I may, maybe a friendly amendment to that would be, and to form an ad hoc, almost steering committee to bring back more details to this council, and then we can formally, decide if we want to create a committee.
And that would be...
Is that not the process of approving in principle and then having them come back to us with terms of reference?
Not necessarily, but an ad hoc committee is before terms of reference.
And you said have them come back to us, so we're just defining who that would be. And it sounds like them is not going to be FCSS. So,
As going to be members in the
Would
community
be some-
that we will have to approve at this table, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so Councillor Bengry, did you want to withdraw your amendment?
Well, yes, I'll go along with this.
with that one.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so your motion stands with an amendment, the addition of the ad hoc committee.
Okay, can I read that back?
Please.
Moved by Councillor Creed in the original motion, that council accept the idea of becoming an age-friendly community in principle and have an ad hoc committee bring terms of reference back to council for approval.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, I see that, would it be possible, Mr. Atwood, would you mind if I finish one item of business before you stand as a
please do.
delegation?
Please do,
Thank
Mayor.
you, I appreciate that. Okay, under 72, you would see there is another CFSO board recommendation that was made by Mr. Jacobs. And his recommendation, as you can see at the very end of it, was to recommend to council to write a letter of support for opening an Alberta Supports Office in Cardston. This is one-stop shop where all support services would be available to the local citizens under one roof. So it's a good idea, I think, and makes life much easier when you need support services. So I need a motion to, Councillor,
I'll move that we...
hold on a second. Marian?
Just one additional comment there. I'm wondering if the motion could include a request to send a letter to our MLA Gary Bickman asking for a letter of support from him as well.
Okay, did you
Sorry.
get that? Okay, all right. So go ahead with your motion.
So I'll move that we send a letter of support regarding opening up a Alberta Supports Office here in Cardston, and that we also send a letter to our MLA Gary Bickman requesting him to do the same.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? No? Seeing none? Yes, Councillor
Can we add to that, that this support office is for this rural area, including the towns of McGrath?
It is automatically if it is an FCSS.
Is there part of our county?
If it is under FCSS, there would be under that big
Well,
umbrella.
Then why are we not under Lethbridge, City of Lethbridge,
We are.
if that's FCSS?
Yeah, we are.
I mean, it's just an office here, which would,
That's why I'm saying I'd like to
it's a supports office.
see that office support these other small communities, so
Well,
that
they
we
would-
are the office.
They would go wherever the office is closest to them for service. This is a request, let's just open one in Cardston, and where these other communities go, they will go to whichever community is closest to them.
Okay, maybe to answer your question, you're wondering if it's going to be only one
That's
one
right.
office, or if other offices will open here and there. I believe that's the intent, but right now we want one in our town.
Well, there's got to be a cost associated with opening an office, and so I'm just wondering how much FCSS is going to fit the bill
Well, this,
to open all these different offices.
this is not an FCSS, this is a request by FCSS for the province to open
But the council,
An Alberta
like I
Support
said,
Service office.
this is a request, and how many other communities are making that request? And so where does the buck stop?
Okay, well, the buck stops with the province, they were making.
Well, exactly, and so
Okay.
I think we need
Can
to
I-
get our letter in beforehand, firsthand.
Can I read you a statement here? It says, "The Carlson and District FCSS Board will be sending a letter to the Ministry of Human Services requesting that they open an Alberta Support Office in the town of Cardston." So maybe that clarifies where that request is going. Does that make sense now?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Okay, all in favor, thank you. All right, so we have our delegation, and welcome to all of you who just joined us. So, Mr. Atwood, if you don't mind, the question that you are prepared to talk about is essentially one of the questions that is on the plebiscite that council has chosen to word very differently from your original transcript.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so your very first
Madam Mayor,
question,
can I just
would you
intercede
like to
for 1 second?
introduce everybody you have?
I couldn't remember everybody's name,
Okay, that's okay, I have the same problem.
but I did want to just say good evening.
Thank you.
It's good to be here. I apologize on behalf of Suzanne. She wasn't able to be here tonight yet. She's teaching piano lessons and didn't want to cancel those lessons for those students. So she sends her regrets.
That's all right, thank you very much, and I appreciate you coming to council to try to help us understand what we may not have totally grasped. To try to understand the difference of opinion that we have on the question, could you read your initial question for us, if you don't mind?
I'd be happy to. The one that we worked with your administration on, is that what you're
Yes,
referencing there?
that
Madam
one.
Mayor? Yeah, I have it handy here. If I can get my phone to stop rotating. It says,
It's
"Are
all
you
right.
in favor of certain businesses and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?"
All right, and the council changed that wording to, can somebody read it for me? Are you in favor of allowing alcohol
Sales
sales in
Cardston.
Cardston, correct? Okay, all right. So let me give you a little bit of background, if you don't mind. It's going to be a little bit lengthy, but a little bit of an education for us all, because in reality, this topic is very complex, and we all need to understand each other, so we talk at least the same language and try to find out where is it that the communication broke down. Because for you coming back tells me that somewhere we didn't understand your message and somewhere you didn't understand our reasoning. So we're going to try to do that, so allow me to be a little bit lengthy, okay? First of all, thank you to all of you to show so much interest. As Darren can well attest, we have had a media frenzy, and if any of you want the chair of mayor, please let me know. Because they're now coming to my house, making interviews with a camera. So fun. Okay, so anyways, in meeting all those people, I'm starting to realize that there are many elements that were really not understood by the media. So let me go through the main point that I found interesting in their question. The first question was regarding the prohibition and its historical background. So it's about 1905, 1908, we're not 100% sure, but anyway, somewhere down there. So the reporters were not aware that such a thing even existed in southern Alberta, and that it lasted for that long. So they could not understand how in 2014 two laws could govern people in Alberta, and why such anomaly still exists in southern Alberta under the Canadian law, federal law. Interesting. And so they query me about that. I say, simple, no one challenged it. And I say, if it's not broken, why fix it? So essentially, they say, yeah, makes sense. So then I realized there was a total misunderstanding about what prohibition meant. They say, can you not have alcohol in your home or bring alcohol to your home or to your community? And I explained really what it meant is that businesses could not sell alcohol anywhere in a prohibition area. Then I wanted to know something about the golf course, because of course I know McGrath seem to be different than us. So they wanted to know first of all if it was in town. I said yes. Does it sell alcohol? I said yes, but only with special permit for special event. Same is true for the Agrodome. Then asked me if we had a Legion nearby, as McGrath has in their town. And I say yes, it is in a county, and a McGrath golf course, and Legion, and the ice rink. I think they have an ice rink, McGrath? Curling ring is able to have an annual amount of permits, meaning that every day of the year they can serve alcohol. So the question was, why can't the town deal with this issue of alcohol in restaurants? So I explained to them that alcohol licensing is strictly the jurisdiction of the Provincial Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission. The town has no say in the matter. So then another question was, what if a business wanted to challenge the status quo and try to obtain a liquor license for his business? What step do they need to take? And that was a very good question, because in fact, this is where the legislation come into play. So I explained to them 2 years ago, we tried to understand this very question. And from our legal advice, we found the following. For a business to acquire a liquor license, an application to the Alberta Gaming and Liquor Commission would have to be made by the town, showing town support through a non-binding plebiscite, would have to show council support, and a consultation with surrounding jurisdictions that the provincial body will deal with. That's not up to the town to do that part. So I'm going to call the Alberta Gaming Commission AGLC in short. So if AGLC rules in favor of the application, then a business could apply for a liquor license from AGLC. But we're not done yet. That first business applying for a liquor license will then be directed to the town to seek for support of a liquor dispensing license by means of a binding plebiscite. That is where the decision is made, through a binding plebiscite, not any sort of plebiscite. If successful, this business can start dispensing alcohol beverages in town. As of today, we also know that once a plebiscite is successful, all other businesses seeking to dispense alcohol in their premises under any license type, and there is license A, B, C, D, E, will be able to apply to obtain a liquor license without requiring any further consultation. Okay? So this is the legislation the way it is. And I think it's important that we all understand it precisely. So type A include restaurants, for example. Type B includes the recreational facilities. Type C would be something like a legion or clubs. Type D would be
Sales.
off-sales.
Liquor store.
Liquor stores, hotel. License E would be distilleries, winery, breweries, brew pubs, cottage winery. So that's about the gamut, okay? So under the present AGLC law, there is no possibility for a town to restrict under license A which store could or could not establish business in town, and that's a fact. All businesses in a listing and any other listing could come to town and be issued a town business license. The town can restrict the location of such businesses through a zoning bylaw, but not, in fact, the type of business.
Karen, if I may, just to clarify, you keep talking about type A. You didn't mention earlier bars in your designations. Is that not type A as well? So the same classification that does restaurants also does bars?
Yes.
Yeah, I could give you
Well,
the list.
I heard a liquor store down in C. I think it was.
Yeah. I mean, there's pubs, lunch, all those other
Pubs,
sorts.
lounges,
Yeah,
nightclubs.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so if we carry on, thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
Because council lives under the law as established, it made sense for council to choose the broader wording of the question, because council recognized that you cannot limit the application of the law unless that very fact is legally challenged. So now that I have explained to council, our position as council and why we did what we did, does it make sense to you why we did what we did?
It certainly does.
Okay, so
It doesn't mean
now,
I agree with your decision, but
no,
I understand the process.
but you understand
I do. Thank
why
you.
we did what we did?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to try to think about your aspect, okay? Now that I have explained to you our rationale, and as I reflected quite at length on this whole issue, I tried to understand why you chose to offer your question with a limitation to restaurant and golf course, knowing that it was not in keeping with the present application of the law. I considered you an intelligent man, and I thought there had to be a deeper reason why you did this, and maybe that deeper reason was not expressed. So I started thinking. So this is what we collectively tried to grasp, and I think the conversation that needed to happen didn't happen last time. So let me ask you some questions to make sure that council understand your true ultimate intention. Would you mind me doing that?
No, please.
Okay,
Go
all
ahead.
right. So, last time when you came, your premises as presented to us were as follows. You believe that the dispense of alcohol in town could have some economic benefits for the restaurants and recreational facilities in town, and for the town business merchants in general, as well as for the future of the business community as a whole.
That's correct.
You also believe that it could attract more tourism, benefit the hospitality industry as a whole, and create more in-town traffic good for business. Did I capture that correctly?
Yes, ma'am, Mayor, you did.
Okay, all right, so, last time when I asked you if you understood the AGLC, you told council that you did, So that also kind of struck my mind, and I reflected back on this because I was confused. In this case, you knew that an application to the AGLC had to be made by the town with demonstrated support of town and council. Correct? Okay. But your intent was not to have alcohol freely flowing in our town, and listening to your CBC clip, it was made clear that that was not your intent.
That's true, it was not my
Okay.
intent.
Therefore, the original question that you posed was on purpose restricted to restaurant and to recreation facility.
It was indeed.
Okay, I'll get you. So, I'm trying to read in your crystal ball, okay?
You're doing a great job, Mayor.
I don't know. What you wanted to do by offering the results of your original question was support for an application to the ALGC, but really to challenge the legality of the present law as they have it in their books. Is that what the intent was?
Yeah, I'd say that was a good chunk of it. The other chunk is the point that, you know, I guess the bottom line was we wanted to do what was best for the community in opening that up, and to inform council of the public will.
Okay. So, am I correct to assume that what you hope to achieve was an amendment to the present provincial legislation to authorize business in a prohibition area, to have access to a limited liquor license applying only to restaurant and recreation facility, which presently is not possible?
Correct.
Okay. So this explains the choice of question. So, I understand we heard all the economic benefit, and all we saw was a question that, without its proper intent, was potentially to us misleading. Can you see why
Yes.
we felt it was misleading?
I can
It's
indeed.
because we did not understand your intent at all.
Apologies for that.
Because it's unachievable presently, correct? Okay. So, in reflecting on that, and in fairness to the whole process, I thought what council did was to fill the gap through a more open question. It didn't solve your desire to try to move forward and see if it could be challenged on a limited basis without removing the town from the prohibition area. Am I correct there?
Yes, Mayor, you are.
Okay, I'm not doing too bad. So from my point of view, had I understood your intent, that it was to challenge the AGLC present legislation to seek an amendment, which the AGLC may turf and say, forget it. We cannot create a law that is restrictive. It has to be wide open. But it never has been challenged, correct?
But it's a question worth asking, I believe, Mayor.
So, council could have discussed the merit of adding a fifth plebiscite question to fill the gap, keeping your question because of your intent as seeking an opinion poll. But council need also to be satisfied and protect itself under the law. So the question could have been also, are you in favor of alcohol being sold in any types of businesses in Cardston? Rather than to say, do you agree with alcohol sale? The reason I say that is because now, this question, along with the original question, will be complementary questions in my mind that could allow council to understand where the support is in town regarding the alcohol sale issue. Because with our question, there is no doubt, we close that potential for anyone to know. And so our present question does not address the possibility for people to truly express their opinion on the topic. If we were to allow 2 questions, the result would be, in my opinion, very different and more representative of people's opinion as a whole, which is that what we are seeking really, we're seeking for truly understanding the mind of the people and that decision in order to make informed decisions. So this will be up to council to review. I can only propose what I think might be a fairer way to look at your question, but I also want council to fill the gaps. Do you
That's certainly
understand?
fair. Yes, I do.
Okay. So you could live with us looking at it from different perspectives.
If, in that, Madam Mayor, do you mean having a 5th question?
Right.
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
You know, we want to work with council to get good information to help you govern according to public will and the majority.
And we have to govern according to the law. We're bound by it, right?
Yeah.
So, and that will not change.
It
This
can't.
we're very adamant we will follow that. But let me ask you a question. Suppose this council prefers the question that is now on the plebiscite the way it is. What would then be your position regarding that question?
I guess my position would be that of disappointment.
Okay.
That even though you have now demonstrated that you understand our intent and the intent of those original questions, or that original question pertaining to alcohol, you've still decided that you're not going to let that intent be known on the plebiscite. I would find that very disappointing.
Okay, fair enough. Here is a follow-up question. Would you want that question to stay or be removed from the plebiscite?
Madam Mayor, I'd be happy with that question the way it is. If you think that's a great find-out question for you and your team of councillors, but I would also ask that our question also be placed on the plebiscite as determined by your administration staff and my group.
Okay, so let me put it to the words. We keep the question as we have it today. I put the situation in words because I want to make sure council is clear as to the outcome. Because at the end of the day today, we need to have those 4 questions or 5 questions, whatever that is.
Yes.
So, would you still accept to have the question that you don't like stand as part of the plebiscite?
Yes, we
Okay,
will.
all right. So, you will let it stand, but you would prefer to have the 2 questions as I propose to create a better balance in a view for us to know the will of the people and for you to understand the support that there might be.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. So ultimately, if an application is ever made by the town to the ALGC, and if council choose to have those 2 questions, you need to understand that whatever the result of one question and whatever the result of the other question, this council will not proceed without those 2 results being attached to the application.
For sure.
Okay? All right. So that it is not biased and not misleading. It has to be a fair representation of our town desires.
That only sounds fair.
All right. So it then will be up to the AGLC to decide if they are willing to create an amendment that restricts alcohol on, for the town of Cardston within the prohibition area to restaurants and to sporting facilities. And that would be the application.
That's correct.
To seek the legality Because at this point, we have no idea what it is. Zero.
Zero.
Okay. So, in speaking with the media, that's my last comment, reporters were trying to understand the various aspects of the legislation dealing with the prohibition. So, for council to consider the possibility, let me review the three requirements. Local support, binding plebiscite, town council support, binding plebiscite, and the province dealing with surrounding communities consultation. So, thank you for having listened to my two Bet's words. And now, if council wishes to ask question of Mr. Atwood, I would like to hear that. Councillor Bengry started to raise his hand, Peavoy and Barfuss afterwards.
Well, Mayor, you got me totally confused now. How many questions on alcohol are going to be on this plebiscite? And how are they going to be worded?
That is the question that we say. One question would be the question, the original question as worded, and the other question would be as I mentioned, are you in favor of alcohol in any types of business, meaning any types of business? That means license A, B, C, D, E, all. In other words, would be similar to are you in favor of alcohol sales, but it defines the types, the businesses. Yes, Councillor Peavoy.
Well, I was just gonna, we had Mr. Atwood on the agenda for a delegation, and I was wondering if he had a prepared segment, or was this all part of, I just wanted you to have some time before we ask questions.
Well, the reason
I was going to actually say the same thing.
The reason I did this
Sure.
is because I wanted to make sure that I understood what I thought I understood.
Right.
And to make sure that you understood what you thought you understood. And I think at this point, we're all clear. So, Mr. Atwood, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I'm up to speed, and I came in prepared, hat in hand and humble and wanting to simply work with council to get good information to help you govern our people, the people of this good community, and do so in a fair and honest way according to the majority of the people. So I appreciate where it's gone, and I appreciate where it is right now. And if I feel like I need to add in extra 2 cents, I'll do it as asked by your councillors.
Thank you. Councillor Bengry.
So, Mr. Atwood, you are definitely set on those two questions as proposed to you?
I'm not set on anything other than I want to see this go to plebiscite. I'd like to see the question that we initially worked with your town administration on as drafted, and we don't have any opposition to the current question as it sits, that you determined you wanted to use at your last council meeting as was defined to me in the preamble.
So what you're saying is you want the question that administration and you determined
Our
was
group,
best?
yes.
And also the question that the mayor brought forward?
We would be fine with that, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bengry.
Any other questions? We will deliberate on that a little bit later. I'm going to tell you we need to later on look at all our requests for decision from our CCW, and we will have to decide as council which question will be on a plebiscite tonight. It has to be decided. So we will entertain a question from Mr. Creed.
Right, I think we're clarified, but if you don't mind, I'd just like to clarify this, that you and your group are proposing only limited access to Cardston. Is that correct? You don't want wide open access?
That's correct.
You would only want limited access?
That's correct.
Okay, so you wouldn't go for a wide open?
That is not our intent.
That's not your intent?
It
Okay.
has never been.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, could we have our recorder read that question that came from administration and the citizens group?
Jeff, do you have it on your paper?
Yeah, if I could, Madam Mayor, I just pulled it up from the last agenda. The question specific to alcohol was, are you in favor of businesses and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I thought it said restaurants, not businesses.
I was just thinking, we may want it to say.
There were two questions, there were two proposals.
The question that
Was in the restaurant and the golf course.
the question I read at the beginning was the one that,
Yeah.
The original one had restaurants.
Jeff can.
yeah, it's number 5 on,
Yeah, if I may, Madam Mayor, the very original one that Mr. Out and his group brought to council was, are you in favor of select businesses such as restaurants and the golf course being
Yeah.
granted a liquor
And,
license?
and in a scheme of thing, if we adopt a 5th question, it is a better question because it's more restrictive. The issue that really I have, thinking back on the open question that we propose, is as follows. If ever the town says, well, there is really a need to start to move forward, suppose, okay, let's put it at the worst. Suppose they say, yes, we want to start to move forward, change the type of town we live in. And that plebiscite comes through with a question that we pose, positive. We're opening the floodgates to all licensed stuff. That was not the intent of Mr. Atwood. The intent of Mr. Atwood is to challenge the legislation in place to see if it is possible to restrict it. They may come back and say impossible, but unless we challenge it, we will never know. So, in fact, we would end up by making decisions without having the answers, which is not too smart.
So when you originally approached us with representing your group for Positive Progress, you also, I mean, obviously Sunday Sports was there. You also talked a little bit about, was it fluoride? Was one of your third
no,
issues?
we did not bring any other issues forward at that time.
Well, I think you vaguely mentioned
I might have
this, something.
vaguely mentioned that we noticed that there was 2 other plebiscite questions, and I might have said something about just acknowledging what they were.
Right.
But then I said we would like these
Okay.
questions added in
And
addition.
I agree, I fully respect your efforts to get the intent, the very specific intent, into the question.
Yes.
I guess what I'm asking, from your perspective, just from your perspective, would you be okay if we did the same thing to other plebiscite questions, like with fluoride, to go back to the team that's asking us to consider that and get the details of their intent written into the question?
Well, I don't think that's necessary, but that's my opinion. I think that due to the late hour and nature of this in regards to the plebiscite and appropriate advertising, the fact that those questions have already been sent out to the public, I think it would be confusing to change them and mix things up now at this point.
Well, a representative of that delegation is here tonight asking for that very, same level of consideration that you're asking for your questions. So I just wanted to find out, I mean, for us as a council, allowing this kind of intent, which I agree is a good thing, but it opens a bit of a floodgate for us, you know what I'm saying? We have
Okay, so
people
Mr. Peavoy, if I'm understanding you correctly, you're saying that you have one member who would like the wording changed on their question. Does that member represent 125 other individuals? Does that member represent the 150 plus individual letters that we brought to you and this council?
Well, regarding fluoride, not other issues, but just regarding fluoride.
Okay. It's a good question. Could I ask you one more question?
Of course.
I haven't heard you challenge the changes made to the Sunday sports activities on town, on facilities. Are you satisfied with the way we reworded and changed the word from
we were.
event we chose the word event rather
Yes.
than tournament.
Yes, we were
So
fine
you
with that, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
so the Sunday question is fine, it's,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, it was just the alcohol question that we felt really changed on the
The
intent.
meaning, the intent, okay, I'll get you. Councillor Bengry?
Further, Mr. Atwood, to Councillor Peavoy's question, it's only fair in the democratic process that these other groups bringing these questions forward have the right to be heard, such as you have.
Of course.
And I think it's our due diligence that we hear those.
Councillor Bengry, we accepted at the beginning of the meeting to have two people talk, and I believe at least one person will talk on that issue. Bob, are you talking about that issue? That was a thought. Okay, so if there is not any more question, I would thank you for having come and help us go through that process and understand it better. We will later on.
So, Madam Mayor, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. Is it inappropriate of me to ask at this time, while I have this delegation present, for council to vote on your proposal as that motion?
Okay.
Do I have a councillor willing to make that motion?
Okay, just give me a second.
Okay.
There. We had planned on discussing that very issue just when we are going to go through the recommendation of CCW. That is not very long coming, so
Okay.
if you want to wait and just enjoy the rest of the meeting, by all means.
I just know I have several people that need to go and have other
I
obligations.
understand, but you need to understand we cannot be pressed,
Of course.
okay?
Madam Mayor, what would it take for myself as a councillor to make that motion, that we vote on those questions immediately? A matter of what, 3 minutes, 4 minutes? Get it over with.
Okay, can you just give us, within the next 10 minutes, we'll be done,
Okay?
okay? All
Thank
right.
you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go back where we adopted the minutes. We did this one. Okay, so let's go through a list of recommendation. Yes?
Madam Mayor, Mr. McKay had asked in his letter to speak to this issue regarding the question on the alcohol. So perhaps it would be
The appropriate time to do so?
appropriate to have his
Okay.
delegation prior to the discussion.
Okay, Mr. Parker?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You know,
Mr.
I'm
Parker's
a-
a good man too.
Parker,
He's not sports.
it's twice I miscalled you, sorry.
That's right.
Go ahead.
I submitted a letter, but most importantly, and I'll just tell you the intent of the letter. I actually come in full support of council and the question and the wording that they already voted on in the council of the whole. And to echo Mr. Bengry's words, in all fairness, if you guys choose to allow the second question, which shows additional influence from a special interest group to the plebiscite, then I think it's only fair that you be willing to work with those that are, either opposed to the issue or some of the other people for the other plebiscite issues to have equal input in the wording of the question and have our intent be fully felt. That being said, that sounds like a nightmare. It's actually not what I want. I want council to keep their own counsel and follow the vote that they've already made.
Thank you for your input.
Any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Okay, all right, so let's carry on with the CCW recommendation. So the first question is on Sunday sport, and so we need a motion to adopt the Sunday sports as council amended the wording of it. So Councillor Creed, you had amended that motion, so would you like to read it?
Okay, let me make sure, okay. Okay, I will move that we adopt the recommendation from the Council Committee of the Whole that the following plebiscite question regarding Sunday sports be read as, are you in favor of allowing sporting events to book town-operated fields and facilities on Sundays.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. All right, now you see, Mr. Hadwood, I told you we come in very quick. There is the plebiscite question on alcohol. So here we have two possibilities, or to retain the question as it was, but it will not give council the full scope of the thinking of the people of this town, or we choose to have one question that will serve as an opinion poll, and which is the original question, and the other question that reflects our desire to have a sense of a question following the law, which is, the fifth question would be, are you in favor of alcohol being sold in any types of businesses in Cardston? Or you could say any type or all types.
Sorry, I'm a little unclear. Were you just making a motion?
No, I'm asking you,
I don't follow.
I'm asking you
Right.
if council is willing to look at it from one question point of view and from two questions point of view. Councillor Creed?
Okay. Understanding the position of the delegation, I feel that it would be putting the cart before the horse to ask the public, the citizens of Cardston, to express their opinion on something which does not exist. I mean, yeah, it would be one way to do it, but I feel like, as you stated in your earlier comments on the legalities, the provincial, the realities of the existing law, what they are asking for does not currently exist, and I feel that should be explored first before asking the citizens if they would want this, because you're asking them to comment on something that actually doesn't exist. And I'd like to say, maybe down the road, if they want to explore, with Alberta Liquor and Gaming Board, if this would be a possibility and get a positive response from them, that might be an appropriate time to ask the questions to the citizens. But I feel to ask the question before the fact, that it would be misleading.
Okay, Councillor Barfuss?
My concern there is that my understanding is that they're not going to have that opportunity to talk to the ALGC unless we're able to put something forward to them to make that proposal. And I don't think this council can put that forward to make that proposal unless we've had some direction from the town to do that. And so I would say that it's probably actually a more appropriate time to do it now than it is to try to put it off, if our intent is to allow the question that they originally wanted to put in.
Okay. I really need to have everybody speak on this one because it's really crucial. It's a game changer. So in a sense that we now will need to understand what's the legality and the possibility of changes of the legislation. So I appreciate what you're saying. Councillor Barnes, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, I have some problems. I'll go on record and saying I do definitely have some problems with alcohol sales within the town in any kind of business. I come from a background where there was some pretty serious alcoholism. I've had 3 divorces in my family as a result of alcoholism. I've read a lot of statistics, and I see the statistics in our province. I studied the statistics in Alberta, Manitoba, and Nova Scotia, and they're basically all the same. For every dollar that's spent or earned as profit on alcohol sales, between $2 and $3 is spent trying to fix the problems that are associated with alcoholism and the problems. I understand that there's a percentage of people who, use it very responsibly, but the fact of the matter is we as taxpayers end up spending our tax dollars to solve the problems associated with the sales of alcohol. So, I mean, the statistics are right there. You can read them, you can go online, the government statistics, and they're all there. So my feelings are, the simpler the question, the better for me.
Councillor Edmonds?
I like the question the way it is now. We're going to be dealing with something that we don't know is going to happen. The scary thing is that there's now a group petitioning the government to put beer and wine in food stores. So it's just going to expand and expand and expand. And there's going to be so many variations, but yet we don't have any legislation. Nobody has ever challenged this. And I don't think it's for the town to challenge it. I think it has to be individuals. But if you want to sell alcohol, then they should be the ones that are pushing forward with this.
Except it's a legislation so written that they require town to do it. So that's the way the legislation is written. But I appreciate your comment. Thank you.
I think we're opening up a can of worms if you expect the town to do it.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Bengry?
Mayor, I served on council between 06 and 10, 4 years there, and now I'm on this present council. It seems like this is a question that comes up to every council, and I think we need to put it to rest and let the citizens tell us how they feel about it, so that we can go on with business.
Was one question or two questions?
I would ask for the 2 questions, please.
Councillor Peavoy?
Yeah, my only problem with this new direction is, frankly, it's a bit confusing. I mean, I've been following this issue for a couple of months now, and I was present at this meeting, and I barely understand what these 2 questions are trying to get at. So I can't imagine how frustrating that would be for just a citizen showing up on day to vote and seeing 2 questions, not understanding the implications or the intentions. It's a tough one. I mean, I almost feel like there should be an information session just about each of these plebiscite questions, specifically this new one, as Councillor Creed pointed out, which involves the changing of provincial legislation. I think what we're being asked as a council to consider is whether we as a council are willing to challenge the provincial law in a request to get some special legislation specific to our requests and our intentions.
You understood it right.
And unless that is worded properly in the question, understanding what I'm checking yes or no to would be very difficult. So that's my thoughts. Like I say, I'm sitting here still confused. It might be, an indication of my intelligence. I'm okay with that. But I don't know. But currently, I'm with Councillor Creed in this sense. Let's ask the question on alcohol and just gauge where the town is at, and then we can look forward as a council, if that's the will of the majority of this town. I'm more than happy to challenge the province and try to get some special legislation for this area. I think it's a great idea. I do. I think it's a great idea. But I'm not sure yet we have enough interest, and until we have a plebiscite that indicating that.
But if you have a plebiscite with one question, do you see the danger if it comes positive?
Yeah, well, hey, if it becomes positive and the majority of this town wants unlimited, unrestricted alcohol, then that's what the voters want. I mean, I'm not gonna say that's wise, but let's find out what they say to the plebiscite question first, and then we can move forward on how best to serve their desire.
My concern with that is as Darren has pointed out, their group doesn't even want that. So if the group that is asking for that doesn't want that wide open like that, then we already know what the answer to that question is. Why even bother having the question on the plebiscite? If our intent is to ask the question or to give them their voice to be heard, then I think we almost have to have both questions there, because we have to have the question whether we're opening it up for everybody if we're going to have that there. But that doesn't address the issues that they're actually asking for. And that's where my concern is with that.
Councillor Barfuss, I disagree with you 100%. not 3,500 people follow Facebook in this town. This has stirred up a lot of Facebook, and there's a whole lot of people out there that have not even followed this plebiscite, only by word of mouth and what they've heard. And they need to be questioned on how they stand.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think you misunderstood what I was saying, Councillor.
Yeah, because it's really speaking the same language as you are.
Well, I hope you are, because like I said, there's about 3,500 residents in here, and 3,500 residents need to be polled, or as many as we can get out of the
What I'm saying, Councillor, is that if the group that is petitioning for it doesn't want it wide open, my suspicion is that our community in general would not want it wide open. So if that is the only question that we are asking, we probably already know the answer to that question. What they're asking for is something different, and they want a very limited, very restricted position on that. In order to ask the question that they want, or to get the answers that we want to know about where people's feelings are in town about it, I think that question needs to be asked.
You need to remember that nothing is done until there's a binding plebiscite, right? So asking the question in itself is not hurtful, because you can always stop it before that happens.
Could we have that second question read again, so I understand what
The
it is?
second question would be, are you in favor of alcohol being sold in any types of businesses in Cardston? So that means, if you're not in favor in restaurant, in pubs, in a golf course or whatever, you're going to say no. I'm not in favor of alcohol, period.
I think it's a fair question.
If we were to use that second question, I think it would be imperative to specify that it would be only on condition if the province would allow that type of, because otherwise I don't think they would understand the question. The understanding that as present, it's not an option, but so pre-phrase that question was if the province would allow limited sales, would you be in favor of the...
Oh, yeah, you know what? It's not a bad idea. Mr. Atwood, can you maybe react to that?
Can I just have that repeated for me?
If I may,
Yes.
I wrote one that's similar, if I may, Councillor Creed, just kind of saying, assuming the province changes provincial law for our area, right? Like that would be the beginning of the question. Assuming the province changes provincial law for our area, are you in favor of, et cetera?
Okay, that doesn't sound exactly
No.
the way
I think what you're trying to say is probably more...
was saying that if we use that second question, which you understood, you heard Mayor Kronen express what the second question would be. I asked that if we were to use that the question be a preamble of if the province would allow limited access in our area, which it does not now do, would you be then in favor of limited sales, or to that extent?
No, let me read. If the province would allow limited access, are you in favor of alcohol being sold in any types of businesses in Cardston?
That's contradictory, Madam Mayor, isn't it?
That's right. Doesn't seem to.
If you're in favor of limited, are you
Yeah, you can just
okay
say
with it being wide open?
It has to stay like that, yeah. Marian?
Madam Chairman, the motion that was proposed at the last meeting was, are you in favor of businesses and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol? The discussion was, should businesses be changed to restaurants? At the last meeting, that was discussed. So could that be the end of the preamble that Councillor Creed has just presented?
Yes. I think that preamble goes with the first question. the preamble?
I'm not sure which one's the
So
first question.
I think there's some confusion on which question is which.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm feeling that right now.
Let's go back to the original question. Marian,
Okay,
did
so
you?
then the motion using Councillor Creed's preamble based on what was presented was, if the province would allow limited access in our area, are you in favor of of restaurants and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?
Right, which means that unless
that
the
true?
province changes it,
Well, yeah, what was the preamble again? That's the-
This is what Councillor
Right,
Creed
right.
had said.
If
If
the-
the province would allow limited access in our area, are you in favor of restaurants and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol? That's based on what was presented at the last meeting.
And we would be fine with that question, Madam Mayor, with that preamble.
and then,
If I may, from earlier when we were getting some feedback from Mr. Shaw, he was saying that the province allowing this would require the province amending their liquor legislation.
correct.
So just to be clear, maybe instead of saying they allow, maybe we would say if the province amends their liquor legislation to better accommodate the wishes of our community, can they, well, the second
If
half.
you're getting wordy and cumbersome, but
So
I'm sorry, I'm probably.
No, I'm just trying to get the
Yeah,
intent here.
yeah.
if the province would amend legislation to allow limited access in our area, so
Sure.
amend legislation.
It's getting to be a long question.
Well, like I said, I think we're
We'll have
trying
the
to
preamble and
put
then the
intent, intent into the question, I think.
Okay, so would you have that question standalone? Or do we still have the other one to make sure that we cover all aspects of the legislation? Yeah, because I don't want to have any gaps here.
I'm still not sure. The other question is not the one we discussed in committee of the whole, it's a new
No,
question
it's a
now.
new question.
No, the other question is basically that
Yeah.
blanket one that opens it up for
Are you
us.
in favor of alcohol sales within the town of Cardston?
Oh, that one.
That's the
That's
question.
it.
It's too dangerous to have that if the plebiscite comes with a positive return. Because,
I see what you're saying. You're saying if that one comes back, 90% want unlimited, we still want to ask it, does that same 90% also favor, restriction if we can get? And then we're protected?
we want to make sure that, are you in favor of alcohol being sold in any types of business in Cardston? When you mean, if you're not in favor of alcohol at all, then let us know. But at least it allows us to ask the other question. You see, the original question, we tried to fill the gaps of the legislation. This is why we chose to have the blanket question, because we were afraid there would be a gap and we fall into a trap. But really, thinking about that question, maybe the question is a trap, and we exactly don't want it. So this is where we have to be careful.
Just want to make a comment.
Go ahead.
I've gone on record saying that I'm opposed to the alcohol sales, but I also want to go on record and say that I honor choice. And if people of this community make the choice that they want to have the alcohol, then that's their choice, that's their will, that's their wishes, and I accept that. Okay? I just want you to know that.
Thank you. All right, so what we need to do now is be clear, once and for all, what we're doing. So we need to decide on a plebiscite question. Do I have a motion coming from this floor to allow for those two questions? Councillor Peavoy.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I just, and maybe I've known too many lawyers in my life, but I know sometimes
one.
when you add too much complexity, it just allows for them to find loopholes a lot easier. I'm thinking about two alcohol-related questions on the same plebiscite, and then I'm thinking about, hey, now I'm a restaurant and I'm trying to go get my license request submitted. and I say, hey, here's a town, my town voted on this, here's the 2 results, they're gonna look at that and say, good golly, what is this?
It's exactly what
They're
we
saying,
want.
one might say, we don't want it, the other one might say, we do.
Exactly. Councillor
Not
Peavoy, you
sure.
exactly hit the point. The point is as follows. When you go and do the application, we can say, well, there's 55% that would feel comfortable, for example, having only wine and beers or whatever in their restaurant. But we have 90% who absolutely don't want to see alcohol in any business. So now
In every
here,
business.
In every.
In every business.
Let's, yeah, every is better than any.
in every business. So here what does that tell them? They say, okay, there is a town that is willing to have some, but they don't want the whole gamut. They want the restriction. Oh, that's not in our book right now, doesn't even exist. Are we willing as a province to make an amendment for a town that is in a prohibition area, who doesn't ask to be out of it, but who has to have a restricted license for liquor? That's the question.
Personally, I'm not getting that in the question, but I appreciate that you can see that. I don't.
Well, if you can word the second question better, please do so.
For that reason, and if for any other reason, for that reason alone, the confusing reason, I'm going to have to side with Councillor Edmonds on this and just say I'm in favor of the one simpler question.
Okay, fine.
Madam Mayor, I might be out of place here, and I really apologize if I am, but it seems really simple to me, and I think it sounds rather simple to some of the people behind me, but if the 2 questions on the plebiscite are, number 1, are you in favor of alcohol sales in the town of Cardston? Period. Question mark. Not period.
And the other one, your question.
And the second one being ours, which, Marian, if you could, we're even happy with it with the preamble,
Do you want me to read it?
if you don't mind.
Okay, if the province would amend legislation to allow limited access in our area, are you in favor of restaurants and/or recreation facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?
That way, Madam Mayor, we have the question with the intent that we've come forward seeking, and we have the question that you've already determined in your previous council meeting that you think you want the answer to.
It's a blanket.
It is.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Mr. Bengry,
Absolutely.
would you make that motion for us?
I'd be more than willing to if the mayor's ready to accept it.
Oh, Councillor Bengry, please do so.
Then I make a motion that we go with the question on the plebiscite dealing with alcohol, that are you in favor, number 1 question, are you in favor of alcohol sales in the town of Carlson? Is that what we wanted, Councillor Edmonds?
So we're going to break this into 2 motions so that each plebiscite question is its own motion, is that our understanding?
I think we're dealing with the
That's how we've
alcohol
done it.
questions.
One or 2 questions?
Can't you just wrap it into the one question?
It's 2 questions.
Do we need 2 motions, Marian?
That's entirely up to council to determine.
If you
how
feel.
Do one motion.
And the second question, are you in favor
Okay.
if alcohol is allowed to be, if the province will allow, amend their legislation to allow limited access to alcohol in our community,
For restaurants.
restaurants and recreational facilities.
Do you want the motion as was developed around the
Yes.
table?
If you have.
Yes, please.
Can we read it one more time, just
Yeah,
to
keep
see
the
what
original.
you're voting on?
Yeah, please.
Moved by Councillor Bengry that the following questions regarding prohibition be used in the plebiscite of October 6th, 2014. 1, are you in favor of alcohol sales within the town of Cardston? And 2, if the province would amend legislation to allow limited access in our area, are you in favor of restaurants and/or recreational facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?
Okay.
Now, are you good with that, Mr. Atwood?
Yes, Mr. Bengry, we certainly are.
It does
Okay,
satisfy
that's-
all needs because we kept all questions.
That's my motion.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Okay, failed. We will return to the question that is the original question. Mr. Atwood, as one question. Yes,
Madam Chairman, you need to call for opposed vote.
yes, yes,
And
I
at this
will.
point, you don't have a motion on the table as to what that question will be.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, so,
Sorry, are you looking for the next motion, or?
yeah.
Okay, so
Please.
I therefore move to recommend, or excuse me, to add the following plebiscite question regarding alcohol. Are you in favor of alcohol sales within the town of Cardston?
Okay, all in favor? All right, so we can still have one question. It's not my preferred, but it's still, so opposed?
Opposed, vote.
Okay, all right. So this question will be on a plebiscite.
Okay, and can we have another motion for this, just the second question?
I
Since
think,
it was initially proposed as two questions. The first question was just passed. The second question has not been addressed as an individual question.
okay, so if somebody's willing to make that motion?
I mean, it does, once again, I'm sorry if I'm jumping in where I shouldn't be here, Madam Mayor.
No, it's all right, we're trying to understand you.
Well, and I'm trying hard to understand you and your councillors as you've talked about and drafted a preamble to a question that we've come here, once again, in, you know, collectively trying to seek some common ground on intent. I'd be really,
If somebody, is somebody willing to put a motion forward regarding the original question?
I'll move again that we look at the, adding the second question, if that is, as was worded previously. I can't remember the exact wording. I do think that there is value in trying to maintain the intent of the original request that was brought to us.
Okay, any other
Have
questions?
we got that wording? Or the original?
Yes.
Have Graham read-
The-
have Graham read.
Graham, can we
For the
read that
record.
motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Barfuss that the following question regarding prohibition be used in the plebiscite of October 6, 2014. If the province would amend legislation to allow limited access in our area, are you in favor of restaurants and/or recreational facilities within the town of Cardston selling alcohol?
Okay. Do you need any more questions regarding that? No. So all in favor? It fails. Opposed? Okay. So
okay, well, we look forward to the plebiscite, and
we
thank you very
did our
much.
best to understand, and the democratic process is taking
Well,
place.
thank you very much, sure appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And if I may, Madam Mayor, I just want to thank, you know, Mr. Atwood for coming and stepping up in this way with the community. It's taken a lot of, I'm sure, courage and integrity on your part. We're very grateful to you and your just diplomatic way of handling this. It's been incredible to witness, so thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll give a few minutes for the delegation to move. Thank you. All right, at this point, we need to carry on. The plebiscite advance poll, we need to have a vote regarding the date of the plebiscite, which will be at the end of September.
Your motion, Richard.
We need a motion.
3. Moved by Councillor Bengry to recommend to council to hold an advance poll for the plebiscite on September 29th from 4 to 8 p.m. But before I make that motion, are we not going to hear from this other delegation?
Regarding plebiscite questions,
Yes.
it might be an appropriate place to slip it in.
Yeah,
We didn't do it during the delegation portion,
can we,
in our
Yeah.
haste to get to alcohol.
but it's because we don't have it, we already approved the question, right?
Right.
We are already approved them.
30 seconds?
Okay, Bob, come and speak to that, maybe.
Is there,
Thank you.
there's a motion on the
Oh,
floor.
I'm sorry, what
Vote on
the
that motion.
I'll withdraw the motion at this point.
Just vote on it if you
No,
don't
but we can
mind.
vote on it.
Because then he has to show it in the minutes as withdrawn.
It's just the
just the
advance
dates.
poll, it's not the
I'll
questions.
make a motion to hold a advance poll for the plebiscite on September 29th from 4 to 8 p.m. here at the Civic Center.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Bob, do you want to talk to that?
Your Worship and Council, I want to thank you for adding me to the agenda today. I did have some concerns over the fact that Council was again being addressed by another private interest group to try to change the questions on the plebiscite. And I would like to publicly thank Council and Mayor for working so hard to look after all of the interest of the entire community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
We're not going to
No.
give you a bad time.
Okay, well, we are not changing anything right now. Right. Okay. Is Mr. Parker there? Does he want to talk?
Mr. Atkins is here, but we need to go in camera for that session.
Yeah.
But there's some
So
other
could we-
business that could be taken care of so that
Yes.
the people could be dismissed.
Yeah, so if Mr. Parker...
Just let me double check and make sure.
If Mr. Parker is there, maybe we could hear him.
No, I'm good.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We respect you all.
We really appreciate you.
She just wanted to hear you.
Okay, all right, so at this point, we are here. Okay, Mr. Atkins, can you give us about 5 minutes? Would that be all right?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's deal with the wastewater maintenance budget. Do you remember we needed to adjust that budget? So I need, Councillor Edmonds, are you willing to do?
That was Councillor Bengry's recommendation.
Oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, go ahead, David.
We need to have him on the record once in a while.
To approve the increase of $18,000 to the 2014 budget for the wastewater maintenance account number 2-42-504 due to unexpected repairs.
Okay, so all in favor? Thank you. I don't think we had any question on that one. The legal advice, that was Councillor Creed or Councillor Barnes?
Well, it was your recommendation.
Yeah, you can take
But
it,
I'd like to make a motion based on the recommendation of council to ask administration to look at the legalities that are involved with selling or viewing pornographic magazines in public places.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. All right, now, the next one, Councillor Peavoy, maybe you can help me a little bit. For the business license bylaw, which is an intermunicipal bylaw, we need 3 readings for that bylaw. So what you can do is move first reading. That's really what I need you to do for me. And then we'll
What
move.
number is this on this?
Is 7B6.
That's all on that.
Okay?
Now, the specific wording of the bylaw amendment that needs to come from me, do we need me to read just the bylaw number and then the proposed amendment?
It was just a recommendation, so instead of putting it as the motion this way, just move first reading.
First reading,
Yeah, move first.
and then the bylaw number?
Yeah, please.
First
Okay.
reading of bylaw.
So I move first reading on the business bylaw amendment for bylaw number 1610A as been proposed and discussed by this council.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, now I need someone to move second reading. Councillor Bengry?
I move second reading of bylaw, amended bylaw number 1610A, which is the business bylaw, Town of Carson.
All in favor?
I just have one question.
Well,
I
sorry.
did bring it up earlier. It mentions in there that it doesn't include people selling fish of their own catching.
Whereabouts is that?
That's under 8B. 8B, number 2. It says does not include a person selling fish of their own catching. I didn't realize that it was legal to catch fish and sell them publicly.
Maybe this is why it's
It's
there.
not, that's why it's there, that it's
Just to make sure that you understand, you not
What
understand.
part are you in, David?
Yeah, what part are you in there, David?
It's section 8.
Revocation, refusal, and nullification of licenses?
It's under the hawker or peddler.
That's just the
Keep on
definitions.
going.
I've got taxi
going
cab
down?
operators as my.
Keep on going.
And then you come
Madam
to-
Chairman, that's just under definition.
Yeah.
So it just means that someone selling fish that they've caught themselves is not deemed to be a hawker or peddler.
Oh, okay.
That's what it means.
Are we fine with that?
Mhm.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, now I need someone to allow for third reading.
Yeah, if I may, Madam Mayor, long ago during the campaign process, we talked about maybe for transparency's sake, we would be cautious with 3 readings in the same evening. I'm wondering if there's anything that would prevent us from just putting the third reading off to next week, just in case something arises.
Yeah, there is no reason why we cannot do that. It's just
That's
there
the
was,
case. That's
there
what I
was
would recommend.
no public
Yeah, input or-
interference or input.
That's a
with
very
this one.
minor amendment.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a public hearing regarding this?
No.
or-
No.
All right, no.
Councillor Creed?
No, I would just like to say, for the public that's here that may not be aware of the bylaw that we're talking about, the only addition to this bylaw is an agreement with the county that the business licenses issued in the town will be honored in the county and vice versa, which is the only change to the bylaw. But, I'm okay either way. Normally, I would not recommend 3 readings of a bylaw in one sitting, but because that is the only changes, I'd be okay with it either way. But like I say, if any of the councillors feel like we'd like to stretch this out to one more, just for transparency, because in the future, people are going to look at this bylaw and see 3 readings in one night and going to say, how come?
Yeah.
So, like I say, I'm comfortable either way with this bylaw. Whether we go ahead with third reading or whether we postpone it.
Councillor, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to leave it open for another week, because there's a lot to do with businesses in here, and there are business owners that have no idea of this bylaw. And
yes,
I
that too.
suggest that after tonight, they might want to come in and review it.
Maybe,
If I might add, though,
Yeah.
that bylaw is in force now exactly as it is, with that one amendment that we've added to it.
The only thing that happened, it just caught my attention that somehow we didn't have the paperwork in place. And when Marian was gone, I contacted Jeff and said, hey Jeff, where is that paperwork? And we realized it was stuck at the county office, and it had not made its way to our office. So that is what we're trying to correct.
Read that amendment one more time for my benefit, Marian, please.
It's the business license.
it's under part, what is it, 7? Part 4? Yeah, there it is, part 4 in the blue, part 1B.
Town and county business license.
In accordance with and subject to the terms. Okay.
Yeah, and just me personally, I think unless that there's like a pressing issue or something entirely so petty that it doesn't need review, I would say we should reserve 3 readings in one evening for special occasions. For special circumstances. is what I mean.
Okay, so.
So I would agree with Councillor Bengry just to defer this for 1 week.
We're going to do this, no problem, no issue there. Okay, fine. So we have our delegation, we're going to have to get moving, okay? I said 5 minutes. 7B7, urban renewal budget. I need someone to put a motion forward. Who hasn't done that tonight? Anybody?
Councillor Barfuss?
Councillor Barfuss, you want to go for this one?
Sure. Do we have a wording for that?
Yeah, number 7. From CCW.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the actual wording for it here.
I was down 20 pages.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's
back up
on
here,
the
'cause
share
we're-
expenditure, right?
I just reloaded it.
Councillor Creed, do you have it? Could you,
Please, Councillor Creed.
Just a minute here.
or Councillor Edmonds, do you have it?
No, I don't.
I got it.
Right here.
Okay, all right. So we're going to spare you, Councillor Barfuss.
Technology.
Okay, Councillor Peavoy, you want to go for it?
Sure. To move to approve the additional expenditure of $20,000 for the urban renewal to be taken from the urban renewal reserve,
Okay.
as
Thank you.
discussed in our last meeting.
Yeah. All in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. All right, maybe you can do the next one then, Councillor Barfuss. Floodway Development Regulation Symposium. We were going to send some people there.
I'll move that Councillor Peavoy, Mayor Kronen, and Marian attend the Floodway Development Regional Regulation Symposium on September 12th and voice the concerns of the town.
Thank you.
Are we saying where it's at?
It's in
Is it
Red
town
Deer?
area,
It's
Red
in
Deer?
Red Deer, Red Deer.
Yeah.
Okay. Are in favor? Thank you. All right. I think at this point we're going to stop and we're going to go in camera. So we like to thank.
Madam
Yeah.
Chairman, you need to deal with the subdivision extension out of camera, please. That's not an
I'm so
in-camera.
sorry. Yes.
No.
Do we have Ryan here?
Yes, Ryan is here.
Okay. Ryan, could you come forward? Oh, I couldn't see you. We're hidden behind a pillar.
Yeah.
Not.
So which one is that now?
That's 7,
7C. All right. Ryan, welcome.
Hi.
You have plenty of material for all of us?
I got lots.
Okay. And thank you for coming forward. I'll see you better. Okay. Ryan, you are there to help the council understand how a subdivision extension is dealt with. So maybe if you want to come at the podium there and help us, guide us through the process, helping us as to what councillor can do and what can they not do.
Yes, thank
And
you.
under which conditions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council.
You should have received, council, 2 papers that look like this. Okay? Okay.
These were uploaded to your SkyDrive on Monday afternoon. I sent you an email.
So if you look under OSC, you might find it.
This is the,
7C, yeah.
Thank you.
this one here, yeah. 2C50-50. That's the one.
Okay? Are we all on the same page here? No? Can you give them a minute or so? Are we okay?
I haven't found it, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I guess just a little about, some basics about the subdivision process just before we get into the matter at hand. Municipality has to establish a subdivision authority. We've done that. We have a municipal planning commission. So they made an original decision in this case. Now, subdivision extensions are a matter of council. Some councils choose to delegate the authority to do so, perhaps back to the MPC, sometimes to ORSC, really whoever they want. But in this case, we haven't done that, and that's relatively normal for most municipalities in the region. So it's a council matter. And now the Act doesn't give much guidance on extensions. It says council may grant an extension from time to time. In this particular circumstance, we've already granted 2 extensions. So the applicant is coming back for a third extension. There's no limit to how many extensions we can grant. In my letter, I did sort of suggest some sort of best practice for reviewing a request, although there isn't formal criteria for when the council shall and shall not grant an extension. And even if an extension isn't granted today, it doesn't preclude the applicant from coming back later. Just because his original extension expired, that doesn't matter. He can come back at any time. So really, I'm just here to answer any questions with respect to the extension process or the subdivision process in general, or this application.
Okay, let me try to understand. I'm going to put the same scenario at the worst, so I understand the worst scenario, so it's easier for us to really get it. If a council does not approve an application, what is then the recourse of the land owner?
Well, with respect to extensions, there's no appeal provision in the Act. So, but it is interesting because there have been cases where a council has chosen not to grant an extension. But in our experience, that even council's unwillingness to grant an extension doesn't preclude the applicant from coming back, say, to a subsequent council and asking for an extension. So the application is null, but it's really never void, if that answers your question.
Okay, so help me understand what that means. The application is null. What is then the requirement for the landowner to do? Does that mean he has to start from square one?
Well, yes, if he's not willing to go through the process, perhaps waiting for another council and asking for an extension again, which, like I said, is not a normal thing that happens very often. In speaking to some of the senior guys at our office, they've only seen that once or twice. So
Okay.
the normal process would be to reapply if that was the applicant's.
Okay, so let me understand it clearly. Suppose an application is denied, is now null. That same person during the same landowner, during this same council period, could come back and revisit that application, or does he have to wait for next council?
Well, there's nothing in the Act or the regulations that says he might have to wait for a subsequent council. It would just be, sort of seem to be intuitive that the same council wouldn't grant an extension,
Unless conditions are met?
when they've refused one. Perhaps the applicant makes more demonstrable progress towards meeting the conditions, and maybe that satisfies council in granting an extension. However, the whole purpose of the extension process is to give the applicant the ability
To fulfill the
conditions and have the final plan endorsed and ultimately registered at the land titles office.
Okay.
So really, matter of fact, if an extension isn't granted, it's probably done. I'm just saying there is maybe, you might call it a loophole in that we don't have precedent-setting case law or anything like that says you can't come back and ask for another extension once one is refused. And we do have sort of evidence that says you probably can do that, but my opinion would be that if council chose not to grant an extension, the applicant's normal recourse would be to reapply and go through the process again.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, in the extension process, is it inappropriate to add any additional recommendations?
Yes, it would be inappropriate. We really have to treat it as is, because there's no appeal provision. I mean, an applicant can appeal on the original decision. He can appeal the decision itself or any of the conditions. And so he doesn't have the ability to do that now, so I would say we have to say yes or no as is.
And then a follow-up question, if an extension is not granted, what would be the cost of reapplying, roughly, realistically?
For this same application, what do we have, 30 lots? I'm not totally up to speed. It's probably in the $15,000 range, maybe a bit less. I could check those numbers for you quickly if you wanted to give me a little time.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions? Well, I said we were going to look at the words so that we really understand the.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you wanting to understand that, and I can get that for you, that dollar amount, if that's.
I guess the question I have is, are we making a vote on this
No,
tonight?
no,
That's
no,
what I
no,
was-
here we are getting information.
Okay, good,
That
that's all
is
I
all.
wanted to know.
The rest is from Mr. Atkin to
Yeah,
speak to
okay.
in camera,
Good.
and which we want to do immediately. Councillor Bengry.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if we don't grant an extension, does that make this project dead in the water?
No.
Technically not. I mean, if you defer a decision today, then you haven't dealt with the matter, and you're probably obliged to deal with the matter at a later date. However, if you make a decision and aren't willing to grant an extension, what I was trying to say earlier is, there is, based on what we've seen in the past, potential for the applicant to go through the extension request again. However, for all intent and purpose, it's probably pretty much dead in the water. That would be my opinion, and lacking case law and sort of precedent with respect to the same, that's probably all I can say with respect to that.
Councillor Creed.
Just a question, and maybe administration, are we looking for, we have a present application right here this time that we're looking for a decision on, is that the case? Or do we need to make a decision one way or another, or a decision to postpone a decision until, next council, or till after we
Just for explanation,
our in-camera session?
this subdivision application has been approved at the planning commission level, as Ryan said, in, I believe, 2011, correct? So it expired August of 2014. So the request to council tonight is, will you grant a further extension? Mr. Atkins has been working over that period of time to meet all of the conditions under this application, and as you've been told before in previous council meetings, there is a number of conditions which is unique to this subdivision. Normally you wouldn't see that many conditions. So the second letter that you've got in front of you is a letter that I have met and talked with Mr. Atkins about, and it's regarding any of the conditions that are outstanding still. Most of these conditions, Mr. Atkins feels he can meet almost immediately. Some of them are just standard conditions, like having Alberta Transportation sign off, or Environment Sustainable Resources, because they've already done some preliminary work. It's just a matter of registering on the final subdivision. There's a couple of conditions here that Mr. Atkins will talk with you tonight about, that may be more difficult to meet those conditions, and he would like to address council on those. But those will be in an in-camera session because of the sensitive nature for his business activity there. So the preference would be that a decision be made tonight whether you're going to extend, but you could put that off until, let's say, the meeting next week, to wait until you've had the conversation with Mr. Atkins tonight and then make a decision further to that.
Thank you very much, Marian. Councillor Creed.
In that case, that would be my motion that we postpone this decision until after we've had our in-camera decision with Mr. Atkins, to either after or to next week.
Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on the table.
If I may, friendly
Question?
amendment. If friendly amendment. I'm also interested in learning what we have to learn on Friday. So I would maybe just recommend, rather than the two options, just the one, make the decision.
Next week. Okay,
Can you?
that we postpone making the decision until next council meeting, which is next.
Table it.
Table this.
To September 16th, is that the date?
I'm sorry, what was the date? September
16th.
16th, that we table this motion or discussion until September 16th council meeting.
Any other question or comments?
I guess a quick question is, I just want to know if Mr. Atkins is aware of this meeting that we're discussing on Friday in Red Deer.
Could you repeat that?
Floodway.
Are you aware of the meeting that the three, the mayor and the two councils are going to, or Marian are going to attend in Red Deer regarding floodways and?
What's the difference?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, maybe you should just let him know what's going on there. You're
No,
attending.
we go into an information session that will be in Red Deer regarding floodways, and there's ministries that will.
The updated legislation regarding
Yeah.
floodways.
Did you hear that?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
We are going to a session, information session on the new legislation regarding floodways in Red Deer. And we have questions that we want to bring to the table, the round table that have, to understand the ins and outs of the new legislation. Okay. Councillor Bengry?
My question is, can Mr. Atkins continue to do this development without this extension at this time?
Yes.
Or does he need to be granted an extension so he
No,
can
he can
continue?
continue.
No,
Okay, thank
he
you.
can continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Already
have,
overdue, so.
we have a motion on the table. Are in favor? Okay, so it's tabled. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your input, Ryan, and I see you have lots of stuff that you may want to share with us, or
Well, I'm happy to stay if you want me to stay. If not, that's.
I think it's
Yes, Mr.
okay.
Atkins, too.
Yeah.
No,
He doesn't need to say.
it does not need to say. We're going to take
No?
we're going to break. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I have a request for 5 minutes break.
Quick
So
question,
can-
is the
can
last
somebody-
thing we have to go over out of camera, in public, on record, just the financial report?
Do you want to do it now?
Well, I'm just thinking
It's
that.
the last thing that's.
Okay,
it's the
so
last thing.
It's not, there's a
No.
couple of other items.
There's some letters.
Okay.
we have quite a bit of correspondence, we have quite a bit of things here to deal
Come
with.
back, finish with that.
Recess it is.
That was just repeated.
Okay, I need a motion to recess.
Make that motion.
Okay, Councillor Brown, put a motion to recess. I'll give you 5 minutes flat. Run.
We go.
I never demand these
All in
35
favor?
seconds.
Taking 5 minutes.